Hi, I'm Julieann Hartman, and welcome to The Journey. Well, today I have an in-studio guest, which is a very, very close friend of mine. We've known each other for 32 years. That is incredible, to be honest with you, because sometimes I don't even feel like I'm 32, but it's been 32 years. I'd like to welcome Billy Blanks to The Journey.
Hi, everybody.
So, as you guys have heard a lot in my story, Billy has played a very important role in my life, in our family's lives. For the last 32 years, I walked into his studio in 1990.
Yeah.
Just a real wreck, a mess. And if you don't know my story, go to The Journey on Julieann Hartman so you can hear all of that. But I walked into his studio in Sherman Oaks, pretty messed up, just all about me, and just an angry woman that was in the world and didn't know anything else about the world. And so throughout the years, Billy just kept teaching me and telling me about Jesus, and I didn't want to hear it. We're going to get to that a little bit later, but this is going to be a really fun interview, and I can't wait for you all to hear this. So let's get into it. First of all, I do want to give a little background on Billy because we all just know him as the Tybo guy, right? The one that used to come in maybe into your living rooms on an infomercial many years ago. Well, he was much more than just the Tybo guy. So I want to start off when you were, where your upbringing, like where are you from? And you have a lot of brothers and sisters, so let them know what the story of Billy Blanks.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania. And when I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, I grew up with a learning disorder. And that learning disorder was dyslexia. And at the time, nobody knew what dyslexia was. If you ask the person, even now, if you go home and ask the person, what is dyslexia? Some people can answer it, and some people will go, oh, maybe it's down here in your knees. You hear people say things like that. And I'm serious. They actually did a movie on dyslexia.
Okay.
And when they went around, they asked people questions about dyslexia. Most people didn't know. But when I grew up, guys, I grew up with that learning disorder. And because I grew up with that learning disorder, most people thought I was mentally handicapped. And I wasn't mentally handicapped. I was just a shy kid that had a learning disorder that most people didn't know anything about. And
wow.
Then I got involved with karate. And when I got involved with karate, that gave me a chance to see out of my own eyes that I could be successful.
Okay, so you just said so much there. So you have a learning disability, and you also are, so the dyslexia probably brought on the learning disability then, correct? And so everybody just thought there was just something mentally wrong with you, so they just, did they just put you in a room by yourself? And,
they put me in a room with a bunch of kids, and all the kids that were in the room, some kids didn't have arms, handicapped. You know what I mean? And so when they put me in a room, I got a chance to see out of my own eyes that something made each one of us move. So it told me that it was no longer about my body. It was more about my spirit, And at the time, I didn't really know too much about who God was and what God's was. I just knew that if I was going to be able to do something, it was going to have to come from the inside out.
Okay. Well, see, and that's so neat because that really plays into his whole future now with Tybo, because he was able to really look at people. Even myself, before Tybo became huge, that's when I was there, because Tybo hit really hard in 98?
About 98, started in 98.
In 1998. And so, but before then, because I was there since 1990. So all those years, Billy would look into people and try to pull out the best out of them. And that's what you did for me and, like I said, in my whole family. So let's go back to now, were you raised a Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
I have 15 brothers and sisters, and every Sunday we had to go to church.
Okay.
Right?
So there's 16 kids. And then
actually 15.
15. Okay, then there's two parents.
Yes.
So there's a family of 17.
Right.
Which, I'm sorry, how do you all go to church? Was it down the street so you could walk?
Actually, right back of my house. It was right back of my house. And at first, when we first started going to church, it was probably about 2 miles away. So
okay.
So we were all piled up in a station wagon, right? And that was kind of funny, But
I bet.
But all of us at 15, at once, it started off with me, my brother, and my sister, the older kids, and then all of a sudden it started to get into the younger kids.
That's true, because they didn't come all at one time.
Okay.
Right. So now, what was that like growing up in a house with that many kids? How many bedrooms did you have?
In the house that we grew up in, we only had 4 bedrooms.
Oh my gosh. Is that bedrooms? So you had a living room too?
4 bedrooms, a living room. We had what do they call we had a family room, and then what's the other, like a formal, it wasn't formal living room,
Like
but
a formal dining room or
like a living room with couches in it.
Okay.
And some of us slept on the couches, and we had four beds in each room, like bunk beds.
Right.
So we always sleep in bunk beds, and two people to a bed sometimes,
Okay.
Yeah, it was funny. All my brothers, two used to sleep up top, one in the middle, on the bottom. So never forget it, man. We did what we had to do to survive, and my mom and dad were two awesome people.
So then they kept you guys all in church. So was that something that you continued as you got older, or did you kind of like?
No, when I was going to church, I was going and I was scared because I would go into the church and I would be like 12 years old. And I'd be sitting down, and the pastor would go, "You going to hell? You going to hell?"
Oh my
right?
God!
Right. So I'm like, oh, and I'm scared. And then I'm seeing people, with the Holy Ghost back in the Baptist church, and the Holy Ghost people would go up and down the floor and they'd be shouting. I never seen my mother lay on the ground. She would shake on the ground.
Oh God!
Right. So I'm nervous and scared, right? And then at the same time, the pastor's saying, if you don't listen and if you don't do what God tell you to do, you're going to hell, and you're going this and you're doing that. And so I said, when I turn 18, I'm never going to church again.
Well, that was, so literally put the fear of God in you.
Fear of God in us, yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, so.
I'm telling you.
So, wow, that's funny. But okay, so was that one of those ones where you would go to church like every day or just like?
Every Sunday. We went every Sunday.
Okay.
We had to go to church every Sunday, and then if we wanted to go to like the kids, thing, we could go. But my father made sure that we all went every Sunday.
Well, that's awesome. And to have that many kids, to make sure that they're all hearing the word of God, man, in itself, that's a hard job to do.
Yeah, and even though he didn't go as much, he made us go.
But he made you guys go.
Made us go.
Well, that's good, though.
Yes, that's great.
So now, all right, so what was your life like growing up? So let's say from the time you can remember, 3 or 4 years old. Having that many kids, did you guys have to help in the house as far as, providing money or, get jobs? Like, what was that like?
Well, we had I was all 5 years old, 6 years old. I used to work on a garbage truck. My father had a garbage business. My uncle had a garbage business. Cousin had a garbage business. So we would all work. My brothers, all sisters, we all go in a garbage truck, make $2.50, take it, put it in the bank, save it up. We all had to do something. My father would never let us beg for anything. Mm-hmm. Even though we had that many kids, my father said, in order for you to get something, you're going to have to work for it. And he taught me, being around my dad, being around my mom, even though we had so many kids, my father never gave up on us. Right. Usually in the black culture, sometimes fathers get to the point where they feel like they can't make ends meet, mm-hmm. and they leave.
Right.
But I was pretty blessed that my father stuck around, and he did everything he could do to make us have a family where I didn't even really know that I was poor until I got to be old. And when I got to be older, then I went, whoa. My dad used to, when we all turned 16 years old, he used to go to the junkyard, find a car that had a nice body,
right?
Find an engine, put it in the car, and give it to us as soon as we turned 16. But as soon as we did something that was not right,
he'd take the car back.
Like I said, be in the house at 12 o'clock, mm-hmm. no later. If you're in there any later, taking the car back. I got my car. I tried to sneak in the window one night. He took my car back.
So what?
He gave it to my brother. Right? So I was like, I can't wait till I get married.
So now, did you ever get your car back?
No.
If you did,
no, my father took it back and gave it to my brother. And then eventually I was the first one that got married in the house.
Okay.
So I got married at 18 years old. When I got married, I had to buy my own car and go to work and do all this other stuff, and because I was raising my own family. And so that's when everything started going. I'm not going to church anymore,
So now, what kind of kid were you? Were you a good kid? Did you get in trouble a lot? Were you,
I was a shy kid.
Okay.
Quiet, always. I started practicing karate in 1963, yeah? And I was just go in the backyard, practice, get up, go to school, go practice karate, get up, go to school. I had a vision.
Right.
I wanted to be somebody special, right?
So no one else in your family. How did you just watch Bruce Lee movies?
I watched The Green Hornet. There was a TV show called The Green Hornet. And I watched that TV show and I watched Bruce Lee. At first I wanted to box, But then I saw that boxing was teaching too much violence, and I lived in a neighborhood where you can see. I saw people get shot, stabbed, killed. I seen all kinds of stuff.
Okay, so wait, hold on, stop.
Yeah.
How? Wait, we just kind of brushed over that. That's like a scripture in the Bible. You just kind of brush over, like, wait, stop. What was that like? I was not raised that way, so I don't know. What is that like when you're hearing gunshots at night and it's maybe right next door, it's out front of your house or whatever? Like, did that scare you? Like,
Fear.
how did you handle that?
Fear. I walked around in fear all the time. My dad worked on the railroad, and he would leave for 2 or 3 months, and there would be a guy. His name, I'm not gonna say his name, but he would come to the house and he would knock on the window. And it was one I would never forget it. There was one window pane that was broke out of the front door.
Right.
And he would stick his head in there and he would say, "Yeah, my name is that." He was drunk and he was trying to get in the house and stuff, right? And we were young. I'm a young kid. He was trying to get out to my sisters, and so those things that was scary. Then nighttime, you hear gunshots go off. You hear ambulance. You hear people screaming. A lot of different things in that neighborhood. Even as a kid who was 5 years old, I used to come out of the school and I used to run as fast as I can to get by this one house. And it was a house where this guy used to live in, and every time he would see me come out, he would come out and he'd pull out a switchblade.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna kill you. That's what he would say. And I was saying, man, I'm like every day I would say, well, I gotta get past this house. There wasn't any other way I could go because he would see me. Doesn't matter if I came from 4th Street or 3rd Street, he would show up. And it was fear, and I'll tell you a little later about that story. It's so funny, but that neighborhood, man, it was scary.
Boy.
I seen a guy get shot with a gun as a kid, 13 years old. My uncle threw him in a car, took him to the hospital. The guy went into the house. The guy went out with his daughter. He didn't want his daughter going out with him.
Right.
And then he ended up shooting the guy, and it was crazy.
So now you see those kind of things, like, that could be, obviously, we can't just like write those off like, oh yeah, it was fun, because I know that affects people emotionally, would have to. I've never seen someone shot before, and it would put fear in you. And so did you have to deal with a lot of fear when you were, or were you dealing with a lot of fear when you
Yeah, that's why I took karate.
That's right.
I said, man, I can't wait to take karate. It wasn't because of that, though. I took karate because I wanted to learn discipline. I wanted to learn focus. Through that, I started to see that, when I was growing up, I was getting confident. I didn't have to run anymore, But
So karate came from watching The Green Hornet.
Yeah.
Now, you saw something in that show that made you feel like you would feel more empowered than you would if you hadn't done it.
Right.
See how influential TV is?
Yeah.
My gosh. I mean, that was my husband's whole thing. I mean, that's where he lived to escape, some of the stuff that he was going through as a kid. So, all right, did you know anybody else in your neighborhood that was going to be doing karate, or did any of your brothers or sisters do it?
Well, after I became a black belt, they started doing it.
Okay.
But there was other kids that I grew up with. We all grew up together. And because, even though my father was a strong man, he was a good man in the neighborhood, I felt like I still didn't have no self-assurance, right? And I can only use that word because I know who Christ is, right, in my life.
Right.
But I felt like I was still this kid who couldn't walk around the street. So what did I do? I joined a gang. It was called the Black Dragons. We didn't know what we were doing, but it was a bunch of kids together that when we all were together, one person or people couldn't pick on us. That's the only reason I got involved with the gang, because every time I used to have to run home from school, and if I didn't have anybody with me, I'd get beat up, and I'd be scared, right?
Yeah.
So I got with this gang, and we hung out together. And then this youth center, they built this youth center called the Martin Luther King Center. And one day we walked inside the youth center, and there was a sign up. So who wants to take karate? I really wanted to take karate.
Right.
But I was around gangs members. And they would say, that's for girls. That's no good. You can't do that. You're a wimp if you do that. But really deep down inside, I wanted to take. And then this karate guy came over. He was a Korean gentleman and a black gentleman. Just come from the Vietnam War. They came over and they said, hey, you kids want to take karate? I went,
You're trying to be cool?
I wanted to. But everybody said, no, that's for wimps. And we left. Right? We left. We went out. These guys went home. And we had a Chestnut Street gang, 3rd Street gang. And I went toward Chestnut Street because that's where I lived at. And as soon as I see them go their direction, I turned around, went back. Walked in, the guy came over. You want to take karate? I said, sure. Bet you $5 you don't stick it out. And I ended up being there for
Obviously.
ever since.
Well, see, look at that. This one person suggested something, and because you said yes, your whole life changed. You know, you could have stayed in the gangs, you could have stayed, and you could have done a lot of different things. But that's what I love. It's like, you know, even though maybe you didn't really know God too well back then, but boy, he sure knew you.
And my mom.
And your mom was a praying mom. I met your mom a couple times, and but no, your mom was a praying mom. You'd have to with all those children and grandchildren.
And, you know, I just knew that, you know, when I got to be older, I understood why I was blessed, because my mom prayed all the time, and I was walking on holy ground, right?
Yes.
And then I knew that it was going to come a time where I was going to have my own place with God, right? But I tell you, throughout that whole time growing up, I didn't really know who God was, even though I went to church. But I know somebody gave me a vision, and when I grew up in Christ, I knew it was God who gave me the vision, because He showed me being a world champion.
Right.
And God is the only one that gives you good things. So when He gave that to me, I went for it. Look, I was 7-time world champion. You know,
wow.
Who would ever think? Especially come from the neighborhood I came from.
Yeah. Because
all my friends are either in jail or dead.
Right. Okay, so I have a question. I know that you had a friend who had passed away or died in front of you. And I wanted to talk about that because I know that's something that really obviously would stick with you when you see your friend die. So I want you to tell that story.
Yeah, it was the day that, it's about probably 10 years old. Me and my brother and I had a friend, we all went down to the dock to fish. But before we went down to the dock, my mom said, don't go down there. And because none of us knew how to swim, but we decided to go anyway, right? And when we got there, we had to make fishing lines. So we cut off sticks off of trees, and we got some fishing line tied around the top of the stick. And we got some bait, and we went down to the dock, got on the edge of the bank of the water, and we threw a line in the water. And we were fishing, and you know, nothing wasn't happening. We didn't get no bites. And then all of a sudden, my brother gets a bite. And then when he gets a bite, he tries to pull, and then the kid came over, and they both start fighting over the thing, and they both fell into the ocean. Not ocean, but lake.
Right, to the lake. Okay.
Lake Erie. When they fell in, I was trying to find a stick, so I went over and I found this big old stick, and I put it in the water and tried to pull them out, right? And you know, when people don't know how to swim, they're fighting.
Yes.
And trying to climb on top of each other. And so both of them were fighting for their life, and they was trying to get to that stick. And they got to it, and the kid was hanging on my brother's back, and they were still he was trying to climb over the top of him, and then I was trying to pull him in, and then all of a sudden the seaweed grabbed his leg.
Oh gosh.
And pulled him down.
And
when he went down, you know, I got my brother out of the water, but when he went down, you know, I was you know how you, as a kid, I'm like, oh my God, I'm screaming, hey, somebody give me some help, and I was looking, he was looking up out of the water.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, he was looking up out of the water, and I seen his eyes. He was looking into my eyes, and never seen him again. And then they took me to, I was a kid, took me to the police station, and they tried to see if we killed it, you know. You know.
So they were saying that maybe it was foul play or something.
Right, and we didn't, you know, we just told them what happened. And ever since then, and because I lived in that neighborhood, all the people in that neighborhood, not every person, but the people who know him, for like 6 or 7 months, none of our brothers, we couldn't go anywhere because people wanted to kill us, right?
Oh my God.
And we just, you know, I just grew up worried about one day we're gonna get killed, one day we're gonna get killed. And
trying to survive every day.
Trying to survive every day about what had happened. And then we got involved with, you know, my karate became a big thing, and people started to see who I was as a person.
So Billy, when something like that happens, I mean, like where, obviously because you were young too, so it wasn't an adult experiencing it. It was a kid experiencing it. So how did that drive you into the things that you are doing, that you started doing, obviously, with typo and all that?
It drove me. It drove me into, I don't want to die for people, and I didn't want to get run home anymore. So it drove me into wanting to learn how to protect myself, learn how to protect my family, and set goals to be somebody.
Yeah. And that's what he's done. Since the time I've known him, all he's tried to do is protect and teach people how to protect themselves as well. And so that's where that passion comes from. Really, it's the only thing that Billy's ever really wanted to do. I mean, whether there's been success, huge success or not, but the one thing he's always wanted to do was to help people.
Help people.
And, that's what. No matter what the circumstance may be, there might be something going on in your life right now, but, and you might be listening to the journey right now and saying, well, how is this going to help me because I'm sick, and I can't get out of bed. But see, what I'm trying to show you is that there was a determination in him to not be a victim of the circumstances that were all around him as a child. And you can make a decision. Not everybody in that neighborhood got out, right?
No.
Not everybody did. I'm sure they probably turned to drugs and all kinds of other things. Some of them, not all, but you got out of that neighborhood and you made something of yourself. And I know that obviously is because of God only.
Right. And I made, I made a decision that I don't want to live a life like that anymore. I want to live a life in fear. I don't want to live a life in struggling. I don't want to live a life in not being able to be the best that I could be, right? And I know me practicing karate at that time, watching my mom never give up. They never gave up no matter what we had in life. They always worked hard and say, always work hard. You'll get the best out of your life if you do that. And because of that, it is better than all my brothers and sisters. And I look at my success as faith. It was a faith-based thing, but didn't understand what faith was.
Right.
But I knew I was watched. I knew God was watching me 24/7. I knew God was with me 24/7. Even though I didn't understand who God was in my life, because I feared God more than.
So you were afraid of Him, not like reverencing Him.
Right,
but you
I
were
was
afraid
afraid because the way I was taught and through the Word was to fear God.
Right.
And I'm glad it was, because I'm glad in that time it kept me from doing bad things.
Well, it's interesting because some people completely run away from it and never come back. But for you, that's why I really believe that you've always had such a strong connection with the Lord. Because for you, it might have been scary at times, but you knew where you needed to be.
Right.
So now, what about your schooling? Did you go through school? I mean, did you?
Yeah, I went to school. Like I said again, when I turned 16 years old, I was the only brother of all my brothers that couldn't play sports. Everybody could play sports, and the only reason I could play sports, but the only reason I didn't play sports is I couldn't read.
Okay.
When I started to read plays and all these other things, the coach, because I couldn't do it, I looked stupid in front of kids. So I didn't want to do anything in front of kids and make myself look stupid. So I didn't do it. And so all the kids in that neighborhood were going to a certain school, Burns School or Strong Vincent High School. But when I had to go to special education, I had to go up into, white people's neighborhood.
Right.
Let me see it I'm gonna say it like that, right? Because that school, it was called Tech Memorial High School.
Okay.
And it was the school where, it was some black kids there, but it's West 38th Street. I'm from the ghetto, way down to 3rd Street. So when I went up there, you didn't hardly see black people, right? So when I went to that school, I had to hide. They wanted me to take a yellow bus, and I didn't want to take a yellow bus because then, my brothers and sisters would see that I was in a different school where they were. I didn't want them to see that either.
Right.
Because I was embarrassed because I had to go to that school. And I would run to school. Even though it was 26 blocks away from my house, I would run to school every day. I wouldn't take the yellow bus. The yellow bus would come by and the kids would have to get on it and it would take you right to the school. But in those days, when you took the yellow bus, people would call you, names.
Names, okay.
Right? They would call you names. And so in going into my neighborhood, it was everything is, you got to be tough and you got to be strong and you
Yeah. No, I know.
And so I didn't do it. You know, I just ran to school every day. And, you know, I went to Tech Memorial High School, and they put me in special education. And, you know, from that point on, I just went. And then my brothers, they wanted my brother as a good basketball player, so they wanted me to get him to go to Tech Memorial High School, my older brother. So I said, hey, the coach want me to talk to you and ask you if you come up there. So then he came up. He started going to Tech Memorial High School. And so we all were in the same, me and him was in the same school. And when when I would get out of class, I would hurry up and run. Like, you know, when kids go, you know how you go to high school and kids have to go to different classes?
Yes, yes.
Well, I would run out of the special education room and walk like I'm going to a class, and then go back in the room.
So that he couldn't see.
Because nobody could see me.
Okay.
So I hid. I hid a lot.
Wow. All right. Well, and you know what? And that really that does play a part in your adult life.
Yeah.
When you're used to that, like you're afraid. It's like almost paranoia comes in because you don't want someone to see who you are. Well, we're going to stop for now for this episode. Please join us next week because we're going to go into part 2. But thank you so much, Billy, for coming on the show. And you're going to get so much out of this, I promise you. It's not just a testimony about how popular Tae-Bo became. This is a story about a man that came from the beginnings, which you just heard, and now has literally allowed the Lord in his life to completely change his life. So you want to come back for next week. We will see you next time. If you want to find out more about what we do, please go to healingjourneystoday.com. You can donate there. There's lots of things you can see. We have a newsletter we would love for you to check out. But we love you and we thank you, and we'll see you next week on The Journey. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.